Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how do we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started.
It's the e-commerce minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart, Mroz, and John Suder. The e-commerce minute is a production of SUMO Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com.
It's e-commerce minute episode 646.
In today's episode, Amazon Virginia HQ2 will be 100% solar. All the sun.
All the sun, all the time. Wish we could have some here. In the race to make the delivery the fastest on the market, Amazon, despite how hard they try to pretend, hasn't exactly been the most eco-friendly company. CEO Jeff Bezos announced in September the company's commitment to fighting climate change with the goal of reducing carbon emissions to be carbon neutral by 2040. He said Amazon would issue reports on its emissions regularly and set forth a timeline for the company to be run solely on renewables by 2030. But the company uses large freight vehicles, specifically medium and heavy-duty trucks, which are responsible for nearly 1/4 of the carbon footprint in the transportation category. It's also the top producer of U.S. carbon dioxide emissions. If one-day shipping incentivizes more purchases, it's likely that more fuel will be expensed to power more vehicles on the road. So what's the company going to do now to become sustainable? Arlington County and Amazon.com Incorporated have entered into agreements with Richmond-based Dominion Energy Incorporated to purchase power for Amazon's HQ2 East Coast headquarters. The headquarters will be powered by a solar farm more than 200 miles away in Southern Virginia. The e-commerce giant plans to use 100% renewable energy to power what will eventually become a 4 million square foot campus. Arlington County is expected to purchase around 1/3 of the solar farm's output to power county government operations. Amazon said it will purchase the remaining output under a separate agreement to power HQ2, as well as other Amazon-owned properties around Virginia, like their distribution centers and Whole Food Market grocery stores. Amazon has contracted 82 megawatts of the new 120 megawatt solar farm, which is expected to generate 172,500 megawatt hours of renewable energy annually. It will be Amazon's 10th renewable energy project in Virginia. Amazon also plans to invest over $2.5 billion with a B into building the HQ2 campus over the next decade. The campus itself will include 1 million square foot of LEED Gold certified energy efficient office buildings in two 22-story towers. There will also be 50,000 square foot of new retail space for shops, restaurants, and a daycare center for area residents, and an expected 25,000 new Amazon employees. The solar farm is expected to be operational by 2022. So while we applaud Amazon, I think the claps are getting little tinier hands because they're getting too big.
Something that caught my eye is the implementation of daycare. That's a little like, yeah, here's a perk masked as a way for you to stay at your job longer.
Yeah, well, it's not quite the Google thing where it's all baked into the, free food, free daycare, free dry cleaning, so you can never leave.
Right.
You can check in, but you can never leave.
Right.
I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, and especially if you're someone looking for daycare, that's not a bad thing. So I'm going to give him a pass on that one. I think this is really great. I think Amazon needs to do more. The problem, Amazon is going to have a growing PR crisis as months and years go by, in that they're just too big. Now everyone's calling for them to be broken up. I anticipate the cloud service to be spun off. I just think while we applaud these efforts, these environmental efforts, there is still a lot of work to be done. And while we are an e-commerce podcast, this convenience by Amazon is coming at such a great cost that I think they need to open like 10 more solar farms.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's very concerning. And listen, I am the order the Amazon and have it delivered in a couple hours guy, and I know you guys are as well. You can't get off that crack pipe of Prime. It's looking at you. It's just that little symbol.
Prime.
Prime. It's just that little symbol that looks at you when you're buying something. You're like, yeah, You know what?
It doesn't even look at you anymore. You're just like, oh, I just need this. It's here tomorrow.
Right, and it's here tomorrow.
Perfect.
I mean, it's sometimes it gets into this mindless ordering where it's like, I just remembered something I forgot. I ordered it. I closed the window, and then the guy knocks on the door tomorrow, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I open the package. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Or you close the window and he just knocks.
It just knocks. It's like, I'm here already.
I'm here.
Yeah, so they're involved in a lot of renewable energy projects, as they should. They are trying to switch to electric vehicles, which is good. I think that'll eventually hit their tractor-trailer fleet as that technology becomes more perfected. Not only that, but the driverless tractor-trailers, which we're starting to see. But that's all in the future. And I think they're going to have a real PR problem on their hands just from the sheer size and growth. But
yeah,
I like this.
It's like, yeah, maybe you're making them sustainably, but you're still taking up like land that once.
I mean, what are you going to do about that, Brittany? I mean, if you darn hippies want solar, but you don't want us to use the land.
Yeah.
Did you see the other thing? The other thing that the wind turbines, when the blades are done, they're not recyclable and they're all winding up in these giant landfills.
Dear God.
Oh.
Dear God.
That's where you can't win.
I am so cynical about these big corporations.
And anything?
True.
I'm pro solar. I would have solar on my house if it wasn't so cost prohibitive. I think it boggles my mind why this country hasn't adopted more. And I know for a long time it was the price of the panels themselves. That's gone down. Oh, it says it right here in the stats that the cost of solar installation has gone down more than 70% over the last decade. Yep. So what I think was there used to be a lot of solar companies that came out. And I think because of the cost now has dropped, a lot of these bigger companies have went away because they can't make that sweet cash on the installation now that it's almost commoditized. And you can get that. You can just order that from your electric company. I know Pico lets you do it here, and they'll finance it and everything. But I think for most people living in a row house, or most people just living in a small house, just doesn't make sense yet. But it will. But this really isn't about solar. It's about Amazon. I don't know what Amazon's going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. Bezos has a big target on his giant bald head, and I think there's going to be some shakeups in the next couple of years. Don't know exactly what that is, but what do you think, Bart?
I don't know. With Amazon, I'm not sure. They're trying to. eBay got broken up, but Microsoft hasn't. Microsoft has stuff too. So does Google. They all have cloud computing. True. You know what I mean? Like, where do you draw that line? Are they going to be? I don't know. The problem is, like, there's too many shareholders in that play, and it's public. So I don't think it's going to be broken up anytime soon. I think it's going to be just fine. You
don't think AWS will be spun off?
No.
No?
No. Because as soon as that happens, like, that's where they make their money.
Yeah. It makes more money.
It's got to fund other things.
It? Yeah. It makes all the money, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does all the money, but I don't know. I don't think they're ready to give that up anytime soon.
Oh, they're not going to give it. They're not going to give it up willingly. We all know that.
Nope.
So, and one last thing, the HQ2, that whole fiasco with looking for the government handouts and all that stuff, it was a big sham, wasn't it? Isn't there like a ton of hiring in New York now? Anyway, they promised all these jobs, and I read.
I understand what they were doing, right? Like, I understand that people are like, "Oh my God, why is the city giving that much money, or the state giving that much money for a company to come here to make all these jobs?" But if you're a company and that's an option on a table, wouldn't you take it?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying if they're offering it, all of a sudden they didn't, and then they're like, "Well, we still have to do this."
Yeah, but it was almost like the way it was portrayed. It was like, nope. Amazon said, "Sorry, New York, F you. We're going to Virginia. We're going to roll our stuff out here." But meanwhile, they're still building buildings. They're building a campus that's going to hold 25,000 people. They've already hired more than 1,500 people in Midtown. They're signed a lease for 350,000 square feet in Hudson Yards. So they're already there.
Mm-hmm.
They're already there.
They've been there.
They're not gonna say, okay, that's it. We're done here. What's one of their biggest markets? New York City, of course. I mean, you're gonna see the drones and the little bikes and the scooters all delivering all your chargers all over Manhattan. It's it's not going away.
Nope.
Crazy. All right, we're gonna close with a little stat time. In the last decade, solar has experienced an average annual growth of 50%. The cost to install solar, as I said earlier, has dropped more than 70% over the last decade, leading the industry to expand in new markets and deploy thousands of systems nationwide. Solar's increasing competitiveness against other technologies has allowed it to quickly increase its share of U.S. electrical generation from just 0.1% in 2010 to more than 2.5% today. That's awesome. Through 2018, the top corporate solar users in America have installed more than 7,000 megawatts of capacity across 35,000 different facilities across the country. Those stats are according to the Solar Energy Industries Association. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
Nope. All right, that's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow.